Good morning, Patriots family. Please support for our channel by like, share and subscribe to support for our President Trump. Restored Republic via a GCR. Update as of Sunday, 5 February 2023. The Iraqi dinar reinstated on Wednesday 1 February. And revalued on Thursday, 2 February, kicking off the global currency reset that takes the world's monies out of the hands of the cabal and gives it back to the people. Meanwhile, Joe refuses to shoot down a Chinese spy balloon and allows it to float across the U.S. Judy note: the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, BlackRock, Fortune 500 companies, State Street, Vanguard, Jesuit Society cabal have been in control of the world banking system since the beginning, until this week's implementation of the gold, asset-backed global currency reset by 209 countries. Almost every European country has denied the cabal's new proposed fiat digital banking system, the Great Reset, which would have meant their continued full control of all monies across the globe through digital currency that had no backing. A global currency reset. On Sunday 29 January 2023, the Iraqi dinar was listed on the ISX Nasdaq. As of Tuesday 31 January 2023, the U.S. Inc. fiat dollar officially transitioned to the new gold, asset-backed U.S. note. As of Wednesday 1 February 2023, the U.S. Inc. fiat dollar was no longer recognized as legal tender anywhere in the world and banks were using the new quantum financial system. On that same Wednesday 1 February, Charlie Ward, head of the Redemption Committee, mentioned on his Insiders Club that the USTN would probably go live this week. Friday 3 February. Mark Z. Rumors were that the new dinar rate has been locked in at $3.93 in country rate. That will not affect the Tier 4B contract rate, which will be higher. Bondholders and tiers including Tier 4B, US, the Internet Group, might go over the weekend. Friday 3 February. Sheila. They, Iraqi dinar, traded in the ISX all week long and celebrated with fireworks last night over it. Friday 3 February. Oki, not Oki Oilman, via Twitter, it is finished. Okay, sit down, relax and get ready to say your Thanksgiving prayer. I was informed about an hour ago that the RV had taken place in Iraq. I waited for 2 additional confirmations before informing you of this. It is finished. On Friday 3 February. All Basel IV compliant banks were expected to go public with the new gold, asset-backed currency international rates. Martial law was ready to go with the emergency alert system used as needed. Friday 3 February. Mark Z. I was told that even if the dinar floats it will not affect our contract rate. Ours will be collected with the oil for dinar contract, unless you just go into the regular bank, in which case, the float, street rate is what you will get. Most of my sources. Judy note: as they push the Great Reset, the Green New Deal, we can see that their entire agenda is completely falling apart, right in front of their eyes. Remember what Trump of the Patriots did? They knew that they were going to push their agenda. Remember when Trump came into office back in 2016? He removed us from the PLA Paris Climate Accord. That, when it was supposed to begin because they never expected her to lose. They thought, we got this. We're gonna get the money, we got control. We're in the Paris Climate Accord and we're gonna start the Green New Deal. And this is gonna take a couple years to actually do all of this. Well, this didn't happen. They thought they had control over it, and they thought this would be the perfect time to actually push us into the Great Reset, the Green New Deal. Now look what's happening since everything is moving in this direction. They had to accelerate their plan and they had to move very, very quickly and look what happened. It's completely falling apart. And actually the Ds, they're actually admitting it. They're saying, yes, this has all been rushed. We can't do this. It doesn't make sense. Actually, we have the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. They're planning to scale back proposed rules, MOND. That companies disclosed climate-related data alongside traditional financial reporting. After the agency was apprised by major blowback from affective groups, so already everything that they tried to do, they can't do because now you see companies like BP, We see the SEC saying, "Yeah, we gotta roll this back. It's not making sense right now. It's not working." And then we have Manchin out there, and he said something very interesting about pushing everything into the GRE New Deal agenda, removing us from fossil fuels using ESG as an investment. And he said the following: Biden's administration's ESG investment rules in attempt to push out fossil fuels before we're ready to do so puts our economy in jeopardy, and argued that the geopolitical risk from ending up like Europe should be evaluated the same as anything else. He added, "The market will tell you when there's something to replace the fossil and the horsepower that comes from the coal, the gas, the oil. The market will move when the market's ready to move and replace. We're not ready yet for the administration to move in and accelerate, keyword, accelerate that before we're ready. Just puts our economy in jeopardy, and also the return on investment that people need for their retirement. Everything has been accelerated, everything has been pushed at lightning speed, and you know what happens when you." People can see this very, very clearly. Remember, they thought, and I am talking about the World Economic Forum, the private West Central Bank, they thought they were going to have years and years to do this because they thought everyone was gonna be locked in their homes. Everyone was gonna be listening to what they said, and they would have plenty of time to introduce us as the old system completely broke apart and imploded. They didn't get that, so they accelerated and now everyone is noticing that this plan doesn't work. It actually hurts everything and it doesn't help anything. And now we see the Ds out there saying, "Whoa, we gotta put the brakes on this. This is not good whatsoever." And we could see already their entire Green New Deal, their entire push is completely falling apart. I mean, if you really think. And you look at the pandemic, you look at everything that they do, whatever they're telling you, it's always the opposite. We should always do the opposite of what they're trying to do. And we could see this goes all the way back in time, and it includes the central bank, and we could see the central bank. Right now, what are they doing? Well, we want to raise rates. This is gonna help the economy. Well, no, actually at this point in time, the opposite is going to help the economy actually. Trump already approved. When he was in the White House back in 2019 saying, "Listen, if you raise the rates, you're gonna crash the economy if you lower the rates." Yes, we have a competitive advantage, and remember, this is playing in a private West's essential bank illusionary economy. But we could see the central banks, they're already pushing the economy, and not just the economy of the United States, but around the world. They're already pushing it over the edge. And once the Fed does something, the rest of the central banks will follow. If the Fed lowers rates, the other central banks will lower rates. If the Fed raises rates, all the other central banks will start to raise rates, and we could see already out in the EU, they're already saying, "Listen, we're not done. We're gonna be raising rates again and again and again, and." Which means they're gonna be pushing the economy over the cliff, which I think they've already done, and now everything's falling apart. Even though Joe out there letting everyone know everything is all better, everything is exactly the way it was when I came into office. We'll be talking a little bit more about this a little bit later, but first, Joe is out there trying to convince the world and the country that he did a great job with the . He said, everything is recovering, everything's back to normal. He was out there saying that, hey, inflation was already here when I got here, man. So wait a minute. He's trying to convince us or gaslight us that when he got in here, inflation was already here. Well, let's go back in time and let's look at facts. So when Joe came in office January 2021, what was the inflation? Oh, was that like between 1.5, 1.4 and 1.5%? Okay, let's look at it right now. Where is it? 6.5% or so. Maybe a little bit less. So no, it's not the same. Same thing with fuel prices. When he came into office, where were fuel prices? They were $2. Maybe a little bit in change to 10, depending where you lived. Now what are they? $3.50, $3.33, $6.0, $3.70, depending on where you live. And remember, they manipulate these numbers. These aren't the numbers that tell us a real story, because they started to manipulate these numbers back in the 80s and they continue manipulating the numbers moving forward. They change calculations. They leave certain things out, and they've done this in the past to convince everyone. 'Cause remember, when the central bank illusionary economy completely breaks down, they need to mask it so you don't understand what's going on. This is why they changed the formula for inflation, because they couldn't tell you, hey, by the way, we're at 18% inflation, because the people be like, oh, holy crap, 18% what? Why is the value of the currency imploding on us? This doesn't make any sense. So they had to manipulate the calculation and tell us that it's only 2%. But when you look at reality, all you have to do is go back in time. Okay, let's just go back to the 70s. What were the price of eggs back then? What was the price of food? What was the price of the cars? What was the price of everything back then? Well, why did those prices move up? Actually, they didn't. The value of the currency declined. Actually, manufacturing, food production and everything like that has been streamlined, which makes it cheaper, but the value of the currency continually drops, and they moved a lot of manufacturing out of this country, and they're paying these workers out in China and other places, pennies on the dollar, and this is how they keep the illusion alive. Then they introduce credit to offset everything. But when you look at wages and you look at inflation, it doesn't look good. Charlie Bellow put this out and says, US average hourly earnings increase 4.4% year-on-year in January, the slowest growth rate since August 2021. This is the 22nd consecutive month where inflation outpaced the growth in wages, year-on-year, a decline in prosperity for the American worker, and the primary reason why the Fed will hike. And as the Fed continually hikes, this is not going to help the situation. It's actually going to make the situation worse, because what are they doing? They're pushing this entire country over the edge. But look what's happening out in Illinois. A new report was compiled by the Center of Biological Diversity and has revealed that the number of households having their electricity disconnected by power companies as a result of not being able to pay. Between 2021 and 2022. So people are having a very difficult time paying their electricity bills, and hundreds of thousands of people, they got their power shut down. This is an incredible economy, and you could see the wages are keeping up with inflation, and it doesn't look good as we move forward, because the NFIB, they took a survey and it suggests a recession is coming. So this is the National Federation of Independent Business. And they're sending a strong signal of an economic recession. And in 2019, the NFIB survey combined with an inverted yield curve suggested an impending recession. Now think about what was happening back in 2019. Was the Fed raising the rates back then? Yes. Remember, Trump called them out because he knew that this would bring us into a recession. He knew what the deep state, the central bank, was trying to do back then. The NFIB was already predicting a recession. What did Trump do to stop it? He had the central bank reverse what they were doing. Here we are in 2023 right now, and the central bank is not reversing what they did back in 2019, and they're continuing, and all the other central banks are now doing the same exact thing, which means the central bank is going to be pushing this economic system over the edge, which I do believe they've already done this, and this is why they're easing up a little bit on the rates. They're still gonna raise them, but they're gonna slowly cut back on how much they're raising. And this is how the central bank does it. This is how they push the system over the edge. We've seen it time and time again. All you gotta do is you gotta go back in time. You could see it, it's plain as day. And we know that the central bank is the heart of the problem. The central bank is the credit card. And if you have a credit card with now accountability and people just borrow and borrow and borrow and I think everyone knows what that is like, because most of the people in this country, they have credit cards. It's the only way they can survive today. And they realize if they keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing what? Well, you have all these payments and it gets harder and harder over time, and especially with the United States government, with all the corrupt individuals, they're borrowing the money and they're not even worrying about paying it back, because they're saying, okay, you know what? The rest of the people will do it, and it'll make a lot of money from this. It's one gigantic Ponzi scheme, if you really think. But it all goes back to the central bank. And actually, going back in time, there was a post, and Julian Drum points this out. It's post 140 and it says the following. Wealth over generations buys power. Power over generations buys more wealth control. Judy note. I do not now, nor have I ever, received monies for writing my updates and articles. Let us thank Q that the reset has finally come to be. I wish you well in your humanitarian efforts and look forward to seeing you on the other side, where together, we will make life better for all. Patience is a virtue. Having virtue is a sign of a good moral being. Good moral beings have the power to overcome evil and change the world. And, we will. Judy